Welcome to our work session this evening, and we got a pretty lengthy agenda, it looks like, but let's cover it and discuss the issues at hand. And near the end, there's a couple of things that happened that we need to talk about, possibly that happened today that we need to be thinking about that's going to affect this board, I think, in the future. We also need to change the date on our April board meeting unless we want to make the staff come in for on spring break, and that defeats the whole purpose of the spring break, I think. And then also the June board meeting, we need to change the date on it. Now, is this June 12th, is that the actual date that we got now? Or is it one that we were proposing?
The actual date that we have now, but it conflicts with Central Haywood's graduation.
Graduation. I remember that. So, let's see. Has everybody got a calendar with them?
Yep.
And we can make this tentative. I mean, we'll talk about it again, of course, June the 12th. Is there a graduation on the 13th? I can't recall. It's right here. Pay attention. What about the 13th? Or would you like to do it earlier, like June the 5th?
Doesn't matter to me.
Either one works for me.
Yeah, we probably need to do it before.
13th.
Yeah,
Some people might want, okay.
probably the 5th would be better.
Let's say June the 5th, and then
Is it
major conflicts?
Are y'all all right with the 5th? Does that work for y'all?
Yep.
Works for me.
All right, then let's drop back to April. That spring break. That would have been the 10th, is that correct? Would have been. So we could we back it up a week to April the 3rd? Everybody looking okay on the 3rd? It's hard to say that.
This is Monday.
That's a Monday night. It's a week earlier. We just,
Not being recorded, I'd like to remind everyone that
we are,
my kids and I,
okay.
sometimes they have like a national championship game or something like that. I don't know if that's it, but I can look it up for you if you want me to.
I believe that would be wise.
Yeah,
Do that research, Doctor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that right now, as soon as I put the
password in there.
Well, let's do this, and if it's we can do the 4th, Tuesday night after the game.
I've got a meeting on the 4th.
Surely everybody could recover by then. Yeah,
I've got a meeting on that night.
Jim's got a meeting though that night.
That's just,
What does everybody think about the 17th then?
Let's let Dr. Nolte, can we take just a minute and give
Sure.
him time to
Give him a chance to
get
look
that
at it.
information?
It's looking right now.
Just ask Siri.
I won't be able to
So
make
this is
I know
the
we've
April
looked at
meeting?
academics and stores here. The final four is on the 1st and 3rd, so I think we're good, according to this list.
Okay, so the 3rd looks good now. We can always change it, because we got about 60 days, I think,
Oh,
before.
you're talking about the April 3rd meeting?
Yeah.
'cause the
April
10th, the
3rd.
10th would be the normal day, and we're on,
the championship at the
we can-
Okay. Now, Central Haywood High School's graduation is on June the 12th, so that would have conflicted with the thing. Next on our agenda is discussion about the letter back to the county commissioners about the recruitment and retention. Since what changed on this, I asked the staff to hold the letter because it changed because of the fact that they offered to do pay for a consultant to come in and look at our thing. So that changed the whole complexion of the letter. Take a minute and read it again, and what we were proposing to send to them. still don't know what the mandates are going to be on our budget anyway, so.
Okay, so that's the one, that's what I said, we read that one.
I think what we might want to do is take the statement out about the, since establishment of the funding formula, and just go back and say something to the effect of that we appreciate the offer of a consultant and look forward to working with whomever could help us. Something such as that. Because it's no cost to the school system, I think we'd stick our heads in the sand if we didn't at least accept some help if
Okay.
everybody in agreement with that. That's sort of what, then we'll have a draft, have another look at it, okay? Anything else on the letter? Okay, the next item up is, I was contacted by the executive director of the Folk Moot, International Folk Moot, and what has happened is, and I met with, full disclosure, I met with her day before yesterday at the Folk Moot location. I got a grand tour of the facility. They've done a lot of work up there, but yet there's a lot of work to be done at the facility, and they got their hands full with capital improvements there and different issues that are going on, and it's my understanding that the bill that has been owed to us has been taken care of, is what I was informed of. And so anyway, that did come up, and so it was addressed. And what's happened is with Maggie Valley there's been a transaction with the facility that they've been holding their gala up in Maggie Valley. What's the name of the place? No, it's the
Old Eagle's Nest, or?
Eagle's Nest has been sold, and that's where they had the in the past for 30 some odd years they've been holding it up in Maggie Valley in that facility. And since it has been sold, is what I was told, that will no longer be available, so they're looking for a site to hold the gala. The proposal is to have an outdoor stage, an outdoor facility out to the, if you go in front of the Folk Moot office to the field that we own, far left, the school system owns this open area to the left, playground. And what they were proposing is to set up a stage and have all that, what formerly was held up in Maggie Valley, held at this open ground out there. The thing about it is for the past 34, 35 years, I was told that the donors and all that have given and come and celebrate with the Folk Moot crowd have always enjoyed the availability. Whether they do it or not is up to an individual, but they have been consuming alcohol at that facility. The question was, did the school board have any way that they could change their policy to allow on that one occasion to have alcohol on that field? And that was the request that came up. Now, we can't make a decision tonight, I know that, but be thinking about what your position would be. I think it's something that we should consider. yes or no, but we need to give them an answer as quick as possible, because if we say yes, then we're going to have to do something to our policy, because our policy clearly states that we can't on school facilities. And we had this request before from different other organizations, and we've always said no. But be thinking about this. This is a big community event, and I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. That's what I told her. I said, I'm not going to say I'm supporting you. I'm not going to say I'm not supporting you, because I haven't had a chance to really get the facts. So let's get our facts together and decide how we want to proceed. I would just say we need to. Well, I know. And I made it clear that there was plenty of board members that would be no decision to be made. It was already made. So she's aware of that. So anyway, be thinking about that, and if we want to proceed down that path of, and then we'd have to talk about the legalities of it, Mr. Smathers, and the policies and all that stuff. And the reason we need to move quickly on it is because she's got to apply for the permits to be allowed to even serve the alcohol within that festivity and that time frame. So it takes some time to get the proper permits for that, and also as a courtesy to that group and their board of directors, I proposed putting it on the agenda for April. So I'd like for special issues really to take a look at it. And I can't remember who I was on the special committees.
Stephen chairs that.
Special issues, but Mr. Kirkpatrick, we'll inform him that it's been assigned to his committee, and then we'll take a look at it. So there you go.
We probably also need to check with our insurance carrier and see,
If
liquor liability and host liability and
well,
stuff like that.
I think that's something that definitely the committee and the administration all needs to let us know, just
'Cause that could be a
what's-
big issue.
could be a very big issue. And then, anyway, we've been asked, and I brought it to you, and so let's think about it. That's all I have on that. So we'll go ahead and move on down the agenda to Central Elementary School.
Members of the board, Mr. Chairman, I met with Ira Dove, County Manager, on March 2nd, 2017. He shared information that was discussed at the February the 14th County Commissioners' work session, and this is basically what he said. For Haywood County Schools to consider rescinding, declaring Central Elementary School surplus due to what our future needs might be of the school system. Also, the gym, maybe the possibility of the community being able to use the gym. And then third, the possibility of looking at ways to partner short-term with other agencies. And this was just an informal meeting that we had. And then also, Mr. Dove's office, I think, Mr. Francis, I gave that to you. I had been asked to arrange a work session, and I think they gave us 2 dates for that.
Yeah. The 2 dates that we need to look at would be March the 16th, which is coming up pretty quick, or March the 28th. That would be a joint meeting between the county commissioners and this Haywood County School Board. Take a look at your calendars for that one, and
28th actually works better for me, but it doesn't matter.
What are the dates again?
28th or the 16th.
Evening the 16th.
I think the 28th for me works good.
Yeah, evening meeting.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they said exactly, but we could, yeah, it would be an evening meeting, thank you. There you go. Read the note.
I think it's a highlight right there.
It's highlighted right here.
The 28th would work
Yeah.
better for me. I'll go down town the 16th.
I'll be coming back in from being out of town, but
What do you think, Jimmy?
I can make it.
All right,
28th for me.
all
yeah,
right,
let's do the 28th.
I'm with me.
all right. Looks like the majority of the board could do the 28th. If you would inform them that, looks like the 28th is going to be the best date for us. Okay? And so they haven't taken any official action on it. They want us to reconsider.
They, You mean about the central?
Yeah, surplus?
No, these were just suggestions that had been made.
Okay. But no official action?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Do they have to take action before we can, since,
I'm trying to remember how we declared it surplus,
Offered it to them.
and then they have to reject it being a surplus. So until we hear that they've rejected it, then, or they want us to reconsider possibly just,
before they reject?
I think and I quoted him on this, was to consider rescinding, declaring Central Elementary School surplus.
What's the procedure?
Can we do that?
I think you would have to have some indication from them that they do not want it, you cannot negotiate it. And at that point in time, y'all also need to rescind it. I mean, you can rescind that, but I think you've offered it to them, they need to respond and say they're not gonna buy it. So then that puts it back into our hands to sell it at fair market value. And if you said at that point in time there's been another development, then I think you're free to change it at that time.
Dr. Garrett, if you would ask,
But I will say this, it's an interesting situation that we've never really dealt with. And I'd want to look at that to make sure that's the proper procedure, but I think that's the way you have to go about it.
it'd almost be like you said, well, wait a minute, we changed our mind, we decided not to declare it surplus, but,
And that would not go
Whenever
over
we
too
declare it
well.
surplus, they say they don't.
yeah.
They don't want it.
I think, I would feel more comfortable if they would just reject it, and then that puts it back into our
And then we
our
proceed
lap
from
that
there.
we could do at that point in time, either sell it, or if there's some group that wants to come forward and say we want to use it, then that gives us a free hand to try to negotiate a sale with them or whoever it might be.
I mean, if that came, wouldn't we have, we have to offer it to them first, and they have to turn it down before we could even
We could
put it.
even- At this point in time, I would say that it's in the commissioner's laps to say we want the building, or you could, because it says it has to be a fair market or a negotiated price. So that gives you a basis to say, you know, if y'all want it, are you willing to take part of it or do something with it? But if they decide they don't want to, then I think you're free to go back and either try to find the use for it if something's happened, or more likely see if anybody else is interested in what somebody may have proposed. They could, if they're wanting to use the gymnasium or for something like that, then they can offer to, the county can come back. The first issue is, do they want it?
Well, I say that then let's just refer back to the attorneys. Just get with Chip and see if we're doing the right thing.
Okay.
As far as,
Let me research what.
that sounds good. Let's clarify that, and then we'll
We'll make sure we're following.
make sure we're doing the right thing and not doing anything incorrect. So we can just see how that moves along. If it does move along and we need to do something in April, we'll just put it on the agenda for April, and we'll make a decision on what we need to do. Okay, next we have our fund balance.
Mr. Francis, Angie and I have talked extensively about fund balance, and then also I think several of our board members have shared the information with us. She's going to show you a history tonight of what our fund balance has been, and then be able to make a recommendation from there. So Angie, if you'll show them what we have done the last several years.
I know we talked, a lot of the board members have discussed the fund balance and social media compliance. We know that, you have a comfort level of $1.5 million fund balance. Historically, our fund balance has ranged, in the early 2000s, it would be as low as 1.2, 1.3. Those were years when our child nutrition had a pretty significant healthy fund balance themselves. So, and also the total budget for this. Coming forward, into this year that we just ended, our unassigned fund balance, we had $230,000 assigned by, just by the local LGC, for safety purposes, and then we have $70,000 set aside for baby uniforms. We've taken unassigned fund balance going into this fiscal year was $2,527,577. Today, we have appropriated $268,537. That would leave us with just over $2.2 million at the end of this year, assuming all of that is spent and all budget items are spent. In the budget that we will discuss tonight, we are proposing appropriating fund balance of $289,911.76. That would leave us with a projected fund balance of $1,969,000. And that is $10,469,000 over that comfort level of $1.5 million. Dr. Garrett just asked me to review that with y'all. Of course, we don't know what our assumptions, if they're gonna be high, low. But I do believe that we could safely spend down to a $1.5 million fund balance. I would caution that, we want to make sure that we do things that are sustainable. Because we don't want to get back into the situation where we're spending our fund balance on recurring items. From the end of 2014 to the end of 2016, this board is aware that we spent $2.1 million of fund balance. So don't want to get back into that situation, but just want to keep you, informed of what the fund balance is and what the fund balance would look like after the 17-18 appropriations. Any questions?
You said after 17-18, we'll have 1.9 total.
Yes, sir.
Is that taking in consideration the possibility of the teachers for the K-3?
It does. Now, it does not take into consideration the supplement, the increase in the supplement, because that would be a reoccurring event.
Okay.
Supplement was what? How much was that supplement?
It went all the way up to 7%,
Yeah.
0 to 4 at 4.5%, and then it went up a 0.5% all the way to $25.
Dollars was 400 and some thousand,
It
right?
was 423,000, I believe, Mr. Rogers.
Any other questions about the fund balance before we move on to the next item? Well, the next item is directly proportional to the fund balance. All right, the revised budget.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the revised budget as per your suggestions made at the February the 28th work session. One, we were asked to separate the membership dues as NCSBA, PAC, and NCASA, and we have done that. Also, cell phone allotment, you asked for a revised schedule. I'm going to present that to you. Central office principals and SROs would be $30 a month, which would be the same as what they have gotten this year. Assistant principals would be $25 a month as opposed to $30 in previous years. Social workers, $20 a month instead of the $7.50. Bus drivers stayed the same at $10 per month. Maintenance, our lead maintenance people would have $20 per month in lieu of the $7.50, and then Christy, our secretary there, would be dropped from $30 to $20. Our other workers who are not lead workers would be $15 instead of the $7.50. Leanne at our office would be $20 instead of the $30. The ITC, the bench techs, would be $20 in lieu of the $30 per month. Christy Taylor would be $20 per month in lieu of the $30. And then our LEP people would be, there's two of those, which would be $10 a month in lieu of the $7.50 that they had received. And talking to supervisors and to different people, that seemed to be a good way of representing the different funding for the different classifications.
I'm sorry.
Do we have a sheet on all
Yeah,
that?
Yeah, we don't,
You don't, because but I can certainly provide you with one.
so we got all these,
that's what it was.
Yeah, because
trying to figure out which,
So principals and assistants.
you lost me
25,
about halfway.
admin-
No, central office, okay, that would be good. Okay, if you'll look, central office principals and SRO were $30 a month, which is the same. There's no change in that. And then assistant principals was $25, and it had been $30 last year. And then social workers, theirs was $20 instead of the $7.50 that they had received previously per month. Bus drivers stayed the same at $10 per month. Maintenance, your lead maintenance people would be $20 in lieu of the $7.50 that they had received previously. And then Christy, the lead secretary there, would be $20 instead of $30. And then the other workers who are not lead workers would be $15 in lieu of the $7.50 per month. And then Leanna, the assistant finance officer, would be $20 a month instead of the $30. ITC would be $20 instead of the $30. Christy Taylor, who was our pre-kindergarten person, coordinator, would be $20 instead of $30. LEP would be, now remember that's a seasonal type thing, would be $10 per month in lieu of the $7.50.
Now, what was the net rise or loss or gain, or is it a savings, or did it go up, or what's the net?
This would be $31,565, and I apologize, I don't have an access code today. Copies
So that's a total of 31,000? And what were we paying on cell phones before that?
Okay, we had been paying previously. I think I have it.
Angie, you want my code?
I know, that's what.
So that just don't give me the, I need the number, don't. I give you my code.
Do you have a code?
Somebody got a code. Good try this. Just in case you go up.
I thought I had that in my handout. If you'll give me just a minute.
That's fine, Dr. Garrett. It's just, curious as to, by making those switches, are we going to save some money by doing that?
I think there was a difference of maybe less than $200, but I'll let her verify that.
Administrators and principals were getting 30 before, and they're still going to get 30.
They are.
And the assistants dropped from 30 to 25.
25. Because, see, they're only 11 months, or 10 months and 2 weeks. Would you like for me to move on and then we'll come back to that
Well,
one?
my question is we're moving this around for $200?
Now, that's what I recall, Mr. Francis.
No,
I'm trying to get it on a little better.
yeah, but
Basically, what you did, Mr. Chairman, is you lowered the ITC workers back here in the room and some others, and the assistant principals to raise the maintenance. So it was kind of almost a wash.
I'm sorry. Ain't nobody pays my phone bill. Me.
Thank you, Angie.
Thanks.
Do we have an amount last year and this year? Mr. Francis, would you like for me to move on and then we'll come back to that one?
yes. that'd
We'll
be
have the
fine.
calculations by then.
All right.
Also, per your request from the 28th work session, to reinstate the following items at 100%, we were able to do that. The following items included CTE, the EC, the middle and high school remediation, assistant coaching supplements, band travel, band supplies, choral supplies, and then a shift from state to local for the SRO. And then Angie's going to tell you about the differences in that and the cost analysis, which involves the funding of it.
You should have in front of you another full draft. And I've done some summarization sheets so that we don't flip through all of these, but on your full draft, in the right-hand column, anything that was changed is either highlighted in gray or green. If it's green, I tried to highlight the reinstatements in green and other changes in gray. So, Mr. Francis, if y'all are ready, I'll start with
All right.
the reinstatement summary. This
Okay.
is the sheet in your packet that's kind of got the peach colored in the middle. And the middle section shows what was, these are the summary of reinstatements, and the middle section shows what was in the first draft budget. The column to the right shows what's in the current draft budget, and that is with these reinstatements reinstated at 100%. If we'll just go across reading, the CTE program are in your draft budget lines 235 to 240. Currently, in this current year, we have $40,000 budgeted in local CTE. The first draft increased that funding to $72,000, or about $32,000, which is an 88% increase. And to increase that to 100% funding is an additional $10,040, making it $82,000. The EC program currently is $29,993. The first draft increased the EC program to $119,993, which is a $90,000 increase, or 92%. The 100% reinstatement budget increases that by another $11,000 up to $130,993.97. Middle school remediation currently is $60,000, with the foundation picking up $40,000 for a total of $100,000. The first draft reinstated up to $70,000, or a $10,000 increase. The new second draft reinstates that to 100%, which is an additional $30,000. Lines 283 to 286, athletic coaching supplements. The first draft reinstated that up to 100%. No change in the second draft. Line 293, high school remediation. Current budget is $102,000. The first draft reinstated up to $142,000, a $40,000 increase. The second draft reinstates up to $172,000, which is an additional $30,000. Band travel, band supplies, and choral supplies. All of those in the first draft were reinstated to 100%. The next two lines, if you'll recall, in lines 259 to 263, I had reinstated the four-hour teaching positions at a projected cost of $92,000, making that $122,000. After the discussion that night, I went back and looked, and this is the first year we've ever paid those folks from local money. They have historically been paid out of state 69, and the reason is they work 4 hours a day, and he has very seasoned or veteran teachers. If they leave, then we pay off their annual leave, and by placing them in state 69, it forces the state to pay that payout. In our local teachers, we always take our cheapest, our beginning teachers. So if they leave us, typically they don't have annual leave, or they'll just have 1 day of annual leave, and it's at that A0 daily rate of pay. So what I've done in the second revision, you'll see, I've just taken all the local 69 budget out, except for $2,000 that we need to buy DARE books each year. I'm going to move his four-hour teachers back into state 69. And if you go back to the original budget cut, what we anticipated was saving $90,000 in our SRO locally because we were going, by reducing those 4 positions, we were going to push $90,000 in local SRO costs to state 69. So I've taken out the whole $120,000, left $2,000 for the dare books, and increased our local SRO costs back up to $90,000 because I'll be paying his folks out of state 69. So the net effect of the draft 1 work session, and you can see the various amounts, and I believe it was the pleasure of the board to try to make those equal. To bring those up to 100% is only an additional $51,000.
But now, please don't be misled, because that does not include every single thing. We cut some things that simply just did not need to be put back in there.
Yeah.
And those included things like those 22 teachers that we had, not that they were not important, but not with our allocation the way that it is now. The clerical, we did not add back in there. Did not add the assistant principals back in there. There were several things that were not added back in there. Insurance, there was a thing on that. There were 2 cars that were added in there, things that we did not feel were necessary for this year's budget.
So the net, or the overall, what we're looking at is the $374,000 increase then?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you look at your draft 1 budget, that it would have reflected a total of 323, and the current draft 2 budget increase reflects 374,000.
Any questions about that?
I think it's gonna make a lot of people happier.
Yep.
They're getting their money
I'm
back.
glad we was able to do that.
Well, my question is we go back to what I said in the work session, is we're still looking at taking, correct me if I'm wrong, $289,000 out of fund balance to cover the budget.
But now, 150 of that is for the transportation?
Yeah, 150 come back, correct?
Correct. We hope to come back.
I mean, I'm not against funding, but I don't know, maybe I'm thinking outside the box, but the budget's a budget, to leave it without having to work with fund balance. In other words,
But I think when Angie shared our
Okay.
fund balance, it's at 1.9 right now. And no, it's not something we want to do every single year, because that's what happened to us last year.
well, that's what I'm saying. Why reinstate everything back this year?
We don't have to.
I mean, am I wrong? I mean, that's just what I'm looking at is,
One of the things that come up, didn't you say that none of these programs were hurt because of local fund except for the coaches? Was that correct? Am I stating that
The
correct?
ones that she has mentioned, the CTE and the EC were not hurt because EC gets Medicaid. They get the total amount of that. We do not share that with anyone else. I mean, that goes to that department because they are the ones who earn it. And then the CTE, there was funds available that she did not have to struggle, or that she did not even have to cut positions.
I guess the question, I understand what Larry's saying is, but do you and Angie both feel comfortable with the second draft budget?
I do.
And there's a good possibility we might not even have to dip into that fund balance.
Yes, sir.
Good possibility.
Good possibility.
That answer your concerns, Larry, or do you want?
well,
The person that brought most of this up is not here. That's
What?
the person that brought this up the most is not here, so. Well, I think we're all waiting for somebody to say, wait a minute.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, the one of the concerns was some of the programs that have other funding formulas available that, you know,
Funding
like
sources.
or funding sources available, you know, could they use those and still be okay? And we could take this some of the funds and use them in other areas that may need them.
If you took CTE and EC, you could gain, if you funded them at 88, 92%, you could gain 21,000.
Which is,
Cuts that 51 basically in half.
It does.
Well, a budget is a document. It's a roadmap.
it's a moving target.
It's a way to get from point A to point B, and hopefully along the way you don't have a detour or a problem. And I feel confident the fact that if you've got a good solid budget working document, that it's going to change continuously throughout the year, and that it's been well thought out, and folks that know more about it than I do have told me tonight that they have confidence in this budget. And it's just up to this board whether we want to cut certain items. I mean, I feel confident the EC department, the CTE department are going to spend their funds first before they try to go into local funds anyway. That's what I would hope that
That's
they
correct.
would do anyway, and I think that's what they're doing. So it may be that we'll have a slush at the end of the year.
Middle school remediation is one of my questions. I thought, isn't that what we discussed earlier? That's pretty well needed, and it's been helpful and helped the children gain in
It has,
as far as their
same thing with,
averages, and
same thing with the high school.
same thing with high school. And that's two things that we haven't been able to put back in there, but we can put in some other areas that's kind of like Mr. Henson. If we may not put them up to quite 100% and try to make a little bit more average for these remediation programs that helps the children gain in their academics.
Well, I went by what you had told us last time to make it fair and equitable
Make
to
it
each department, and that's what we did.
That's what I say, and like you say, you feel you're comfortable with that, and that's.
Very good.
And the
And Mr. Kirkpatrick will be here Monday night. He can express any concerns he has.
the foundation, you said covered the 40,000 on,
It did, that was
High
for
school?
1 year, for middle school, that was 1 year only.
and that's just 1 year, okay.
I do have one
Yeah,
more
we're putting it
question. If the coaches are reimbursed or reinstated at 100%, I was asked twice last week about the $75 fine.
That will be discussed, I think, Mark, we met yesterday to discuss it, and he was going to meet with principals and coaches to see what their recommendation would be. We also called Buncombe, and I think Buncombe was charging $50 a season, and I think Henderson was charging, I think it was $20 per season. So I'm sure he will get a lot of feedback from that and then make some kind of recommendation.
Definitely like to see that come back down if we're
Well,
gonna,
I know at the beginning, like, my son played football, and if he played other sports, the one fee covered it all. But now we're getting children, two kids, I don't remember their name, they're at Tuscola, their parent asked me, they're paying for both, two girls to play track.
child, yeah.
Then, one at Pisgah playing softball, they do one sport. And the one at Pisgah, the parents said that they were not aware of the fee, but I remember it being put out at the
Oh,
beginning.
it was very publicized.
Yeah.
Very public.
So, anyway, that was asked twice.
And then there's always been a small fee just for insurance liability.
It was about, I think what shocked them, I think it went from like 10 to 75.
It
If we could
did.
get it back in the middle.
It did. And that would certainly be our goal to do that.
Good job. All right, any other questions?
Well, if we left the funding on the coaching, where was we at, 80% before, is that right?
We were at 100% last time.
Well,
No, I
I mean,
mean,
not
this
the
year,
budget
We
here.
were at 80%, that's
80%.
correct.
80%. Did that $75 cover the excess?
According to what Mr. Shepherd said, it did cover it. And it helped us provide other things as well.
$50,000 put back in your other two remediation programs.
Well, that's what I was looking at, is,
Don't mean to be rude to those guys,
I mean, I know $75 to participate may be high,
but
but
25 apiece.
if we can use it somewhere else,
They put 25 apiece there.
I'm just one person, I'm just saying.
Well, we'll get a recommendation back from Mr. Shepherd, what the
I
principal.
mean, I'd like to know how they feel, because, I mean, the percentage I'd rather use it, like Jimmy said, in remediation or somewhere else. If we're gonna fund it at 100%, use that money somewhere else, be more
I
useful.
mean, use the fees or the
Use the
amount?
fees.
Okay, the $75?
Are you talking about keeping the $75?
I'd want to reduce
I think you're talking about reducing the
I'm talking about reducing, and the reason is the statement from the parent from Tuscola that they are basically a free and reduced lunch family. It's $150 for both girls to run track, so it's kind of a burden. The parent from Pisgah can afford it, but they were talking for parents that couldn't afford it.
Well, I understand. I
That's
don't
something I
reckon
just
we've ever
wanna bring
turned
up.
anybody away that couldn't pay it.
We have not.
I think they had a fund that they pay for those kids. If they can't afford it, the athletic departments have been paying those, because they don't turn them away from
Football
not
team
playing.
did it by, parents sold, kids and parents sold the cards. They
Right.
raised $36,000. But also some of the parents actually pitched in too, help some of the other kids. That was voluntary basis. So, that was just in football. I just know that from my son playing, so.
Everybody still good?
Yeah.
All right.
And then also while we're calculating, you still want to know the differences between the supplement with budget number 1 and budget number 2?
Yeah.
Do?
Yeah.
Okay. While we're looking at that, Allison, when you give an update on the cell phones and then the sub-hourly pay, and then Joe's going to give you an update on waste disposal and then the schedule for the roofing as well.
In your folder is a copy of the budget I presented last work session, and then there's a new copy. You can tell the difference by, there's column headings across the top with letters and numbers down the side of the newer one. But with proposed change in hourly rate for substitutes to $9 an hour, that would increase that line by $3,481, which is line 5.
That's to get them to 9 an hour, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This is not,
For
and you
the, for
had
the, I'm sorry,
proposed,
any
you
question?
proposed what?
$9 an hour.
On the first draft, it was.
On the first one, it was $8.50.
850.
Yes.
Okay.
And then with our mobile communications, dropping our rate to $30 for Candy and $30 for I a month would bring that down to $720, so that would be a reduction of $880 a year. And then I also added in the $11,760 on line 48 for what the meal price increase would bring in revenue-wise.
Was that an increase of 5 cents that we talked about?
Nickel.
The states, didn't you say the state wanted 10?
If you have two different meal prices, it's a weighted average, so we have a price difference between elementary and secondary of a quarter. So because of that, we're allowed to just do 5 cents versus the 10.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for Allison? Or do you want us to take a look at it for a minute?
Just a minute, yeah.
All right.
It's a 10-cent raise. That brought it down to,
Pardon me?
on the full pay,
5 cents.
5-cent pay, 5-cent raise
Correct.
in income, right?
Yes. It increased by $11,760 for line 48.
Yes, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's pretty good that way.
Okay, Mr. Joe.
You have in your packet our proposed capital expenses. You should have two of them with a green header across the top. I did go back through and edit that to increase our roof replacement funding, and I did increase that to $115,000 a year. I will go over our roof schedule in just a minute, But in increasing that one, I did decrease some other items. The money that we're talking about allocating for the schools, I did decrease that to $3,500 per school. So each school will now get $3,500 if that's acceptable with the board.
Anybody have objection on that?
Any
Questions?
questions on that?
No.
Okay. There's also a blue packet of papers. It's got a whole lot of blue on it, but that is our roof schedule. It's a lot of columns and numbers. The column number 1 is the actual school. Column 2 is the building. And if you move to column 9, that is the projected replacement date. We have 8 schools right now, roofs from 2010 to a 2016 projected replacement date. Currently, Waynesville Middle School cafeteria, the projected date of replacement was 2010. It's already 7 years past its projected life. That's all on paper. Right now, we're having little to no issues with that roof. So that's kind of why I'm holding off. If it's not in need, I don't think spending money on it when we can spend it in other areas, I think is wiser. But at the same time, I would like to have the money there if it does become a problem for us to be able to replace it if needed.
Makes sense.
Any questions on that?
It's like my roof, I'm hoping it'll get by one more year.
Yeah. Well, and with Waynesville Middle's cafeteria, like I said, on paper, it should have been replaced in 2010, and we've had some repairs to it, but it's very, very minimal when you're looking at, let's see, on page 4, you're looking at almost $100,000 replacement. So if it costs us $500 or $1,000 a year to patch a roof, I mean, that's very minimal whenever we're looking at $100,000 that we could spend in other areas if needed.
Now, do we repair the roof, or do you subcontract that to like a roofing company?
Most of the repairs we do in-house. Replacement, now we do contract out, but I do have the staff on hand that if they call tomorrow and there's a leak, we can go out and assess it and repair it as soon as we can get the moisture removed, unless it is a very large leak.
I may have already asked that. The cafeteria, that's one of the older buildings, so is it a shingle roof or a rubber roof?
If in column 3,
PDM.
column 3 will tell you the type of roof that is on that facility.
Okay.
Waynesville Middle is a EPDM. It's actually a rubber roof with a ballast on it. So it's got a rubber roof with rocks on it to hold it down.
Okay.
They are probably one of the worst to find a leak in, because you've got 1.5 inches, 2 inches of gravel on it that you've got to shovel off to try to find where the leak is. But they do.
Then you tear it trying to fix.
There is that possibility.
Yeah.
Then you chase it halfway across the roof, right?
Yeah.
You're right, Ronnie.
So you're not gonna do any roofs this year, is that what you're saying?
I have $115,000 in the 17-18 budget. It will depend. If one of these roofs becomes a problem, then we will expedite it. And we're having issues out of Bethel Middle School's small gym, which is a shingle roof, with some of the shingles blowing off. So that will probably be my next one. It is starting to show problems. So that'll probably be one of the roofs we work on this coming year.
One more, I'm not much experienced on roofing, so I'm just gonna add, if like this EPDM roof, if it's a problem, could it be changed to a different type, or was it just cost too much just to change it?
When we replace, we are going to a 60 mil PVC, which is kind of like the Cadillac of a roof, I guess you would say. So it's a whole lot thicker material, and we're also adding insulation and tapering it. The majority of these roofs are flat, and when they were built, they were designed to hold water as part of an insulation factor. So if you drive by one of our schools and you can see out on the roof and it's holding water or it looks like a pond, that's the way they were designed. With that design, also, if they hold water long enough, eventually it's going somewhere. So that's kind of why we have issues out of these flat roofs and them leaking. But we are tapering those roofs to shed the water off so we don't have water standing on them as we replace them.
It doesn't take a whole lot of fall either.
It'll
Couldn't
be
even hardly see it.
1/16 to 1/8 of an inch per foot.
Yeah.
So you may see a foot rise over 50 foot.
Yeah.
It's very minimal, but it doesn't take much, like you said.
Come on.
Thank
Who
you.
ever thought of a flat roof to start with? It doesn't make logic sense to me.
They were smart then.
Yeah,
It worked then.
at that point in time.
Thank you, Joe, for.
So you'll have the money, my biggest thing, just like you said, the cafeteria, if it starts leaking bad, you'll have the money to say, hey, we might
Yes.
as well just go ahead and do it, bite the bullet and do it.
And we'll use this roof as an example. I put my capital off, especially if it's one that I'm afraid of or like a roof, and I'm expecting it to be an issue, but it's not right now. That's usually one of the last funds I spend out of. So I try to hold it till about this time of year. And Angie's already jumped on to me for letting too much of it sit around that I need to get it spent. So I do kind of hold that to where I don't jump in July 1 and start spending this capital money on items just because we need to spend it. I try to hold it to make sure we get it in the best area that'll benefit us the most.
But that fund would roll back up. Is that right? I mean, if you don't spend it, it doesn't go back to the county, correct?
Not his capital.
Not his capital.
This is only capital.
I know.
It's
I
really-
know there is some that you do have to
Yes.
use. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions about roofs and repairs and
That's good.
capital outlay?
And on waste disposal,
Uh-huh.
I am waiting on prices so I can give you an idea of what it would cost for us to switch to the company we currently use to dispose of all of our other trash, which is not in the city limits of Waynesville. So currently we have, the town of Waynesville picks up Waynesville Middle and the ALC, the old Haywood School, the Conference Center. So I am looking at using, Henson is who we use right now to pick up our trash and waste. So I'm waiting on prices from him of what it will cost for us to use him to pick up that trash. So as soon as I have that information available, I'll let the board know.
Very good.
Did you check and make sure that Waynesville's not still charging us for Central Elementary, or?
They are not. It has been a bookkeeping error. I have talked to, I cannot remember his name, it left me. But we've talked to him on multiple occasions, and he reassured us it was just a bookkeeping error, so he should be taking care of that.
We did get a refund back.
They were charging us.
Yes, it
and that-
was, what, $1,500 we got
They-
back?
They have charged us, and they gave us a $1,500 credit on our bill. Well, at $16 a month, it's gonna take us forever to work that off, so my AP clerk called them and told them to ask them to send us a check.
Okay.
Very good.
And he did tell me the other day, and Angie, I hadn't
Yeah.
discussed this with you, there is a convenience fee, I believe is what he called it, for us cutting utilities off to the building. So right now, we have water and sewer turned off, but they're still assessing us a fee to have those. We're not using them, but they are available. So some of the money we offset with taking the trash can out, they brought back in another convenience fee.
They'll get it back.
So the board's aware of that too.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Francis, the first budget entailed the cell phones was $31,420, and the revised one that we proposed tonight was $31,565. So there's a difference of $135. And then Angie's got some additional changes that she would like to address.
Okay.
31,420, 31,565.
Correct. Difference of $135.
Just the way it's distributed then.
Yeah, they just move people around.
Got some more, make it even.
Very quickly, in the middle of the summary changes between work session 1 and 2, just to review the changes in the other increases that you just saw. The board's request, the membership fees on line 29 has been broken, the PAC membership has been broken out to line 29A. Lines 55 and 56, on the first draft, shows reflected the half position half clerical position at Haywood.
I need that piece of paper. I'm sorry. No, I've got it, but I just need to figure out which one it is.
No, okay, so you're not,
Yeah.
I don't know if I have that one myself. Okay, got it.
I'm still
The
digging.
Francis guys over here to be behind.
Francis boys together over there.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right,
Right here.
got it.
She's
All
down
right.
here. Okay.
Now, lay it on us now.
We're gonna, we kind of reviewed the top portion already, so just.
All right.
Middle of the page.
All right.
So, line 29, the membership dues, that's been split out into 2 separate lines. Line 55 and 56 on draft 1 reflected the half clerical position at Hazelwood Elementary. The board requested that Rogers come back and make that request through finance. So that has been taken out. Line 57 was an error on my calculation. I was calculating matching retirement on the clerical salary and the FICA. So that saved us $11,000. And yes, I spent quite a bit of time checking on my bills. After that, that'll make you a little paranoid. Line 74, 88, 89, 186, and 324 all reflect changes in cell phone lines. And the ROTC, if you look at your draft 1, the ROTC section did not have a subtotal for the budget assumptions of 2% of the increase in retirement. So with all of those, the first and the others increases and decrease on drafts 1, it showed an increase of $432,358.58, and the current one shows an increase of $411,473.58. Additionally, in the revenues, and Mr. Rogers had talked about the ABC revenues at the last work session. So I went back and looked at the last 2 years, and 1 year we had received $11,000 in ABC revenues, and 1 year $12,000, and currently we've received $7,100 in ABC revenues. So I went back and increased that projected ABC revenue by $4,000.
Okay.
The change in fund balance with all of the changes, it increases the fund balance appropriation by $26,156.18. And finally, this sheet, Mr. Kirkpatrick could ask on the decreases, how much of it was budget assumptions, and you can put that in that little box.
Got it. Any questions on any of those increases or decreases?
So did you have to increase the transfer to charter schools, or was that already in there?
That was on the, that's in draft 1 as well.
Okay, that's what,
That is in anticipation of Shining Rock adding a grade.
So that's just a budget assumption, adding the next grade,
Adding the
okay.
next grade.
Okay, because I was thinking, didn't we already put that on there? Okay, I got you now.
These are not changes, I'm sorry, these are just to break out so you can see what
The
you're.
assumptions are, okay,
Yes, sir.
gotcha.
All right. Good. Everybody all right? Okay, we'll go on with Mr. Hines then.
Mr. Chairman,
I have just one quick, might go along with this. The governor says 5%. Is that for 17, 18?
I think what they're proposing is anywhere from 2 to 7.5, but the average being 5% is what I think he said.
If
The
it's-
next 2 years.
Well, that will hit 17, 18,
It
correct?
very well can.
So is he gonna give us any money to go with it?
I think that would be an unfunded mandate.
On the local.
Those unfunded mandates are killing us.
They are.
So we don't know.
We do not know.
You're projecting 2%, correct? So there again, we're going up again.
So that's why it's good to have a little bit of cushion.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Mr. Hines.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, Dr. Garrett asked me to talk to you about two things tonight. One is some good news from the state. We got word today that the Senate has introduced Senate Bill 169, which would provide money to pay the third grade reading bonus, the AP bonuses, and the CTE bonuses for teachers who were moved out of those positions and, that y'all agreed to pay a month or so ago. So they have introduced that to pay them at the full rate. It would use the funds that were already assigned for that purpose. And hopefully, we would be able to get that money back from the state. Usually, when things are introduced in the Senate, particularly by Senator Berger, they usually go. So we have high hopes for this one. But that's some good news. They've decided to fix that problem that they had with that bonus structure. Yes, sir.
I have a question then. If they're going to use the funds that were already allocated for that, have they not already sent those to the schools and been dispersed based on a percentage on?
Equally.
We gave out part of it. Some of it, Angie, you'll have to talk about what
We were
went
able to-
back or what
We
didn't go
sent
back or.
Those that were in the top 25% of the state, if they were not currently in third grade, that state portion went back. And we've already been told that that's going to be reshaken and redistributed to the top 25%. If they were in the top 25% of the county, let's say we had, 10 that qualified and only 8 teaching, we took that 25%, that dollar value, and divided it among those remaining 8.
Okay.
It's good.
So the money, we did have to send some money back, because before I was under the understanding that they just sent us that pot, and then whatever that was, we took the number of teachers and divided.
Well, some of it was going back, and what they were saying is they were going to reallocate it, and we would give it out to the teachers again, but you wouldn't be able to give it to the ones that were moved. So now they're introducing the bill to change the law to where we could give it to the ones that were moved.
Okay.
Or basically, I guess, get paid back.
We've
for
already
what
paid.
We've already paid them
That was like $22,000.
out of local money, yeah.
What if we get that paid back with interest? Now we're getting stretchy.
Right.
That'll never happen.
The other thing,
Bill number was 169.
169.
Senate Bill 169. Yes, sir. The other thing Dr. Garrett asked me to talk about was at the last work session, there were some questions about when we were discussing the cell phones and paying for the cell phones about different access. I think Mr. Clark had asked about public records requests and searching phones and that sort of thing based on whether you pay or not pay. And so with a couple of phone conversations with Dean Shatley from Campbell and Shatley, and he provided some written guidance as well. We went through this pretty thoroughly and tried to cover all the bases. this breaks down into two situations. One would be a search, where someone would feel like an employee had done something illegal or against board policy or unethical, or, for example, texting a student that they shouldn't be, messages that shouldn't be going to students or something like that. In that case, whether you pay for the phone or whether you own the phone makes a difference, okay? So if we owned the phone, if we bought it from Verizon and we gave it to the employee and said, all right, this is our phone, we're giving it to you just like we do this laptop Dr. Nolte has, or a desktop at your room or your office, that belongs to us, and you really don't have an expectation of privacy with that. So if we suspected Dr. Nolte of something, usually Mr. Trantham would go down and take his laptop and take it back to ITC and forensically go through it and determine if there was anything there that we should be aware of. So you could theoretically do that with a phone that you own. What they said was, as far as providing a supplement to an employee, that would be kind of like asking an employee to bring their own computer to work, and we're just going to pay you a little stipend to use it occasionally. In that case, you would have some expectation of privacy. And unless you had specific board policies put in place that would allow inspection and monitoring and list specific circumstances in which you would be able to do that, that would not be something you could do. They do have an expectation of privacy, even though you're providing a supplement for using that personal device. Now, in most cases with us, if we thought something like that was going on, we would not be down there trying to confiscate their phone. We would be calling law enforcement and getting them involved, letting them go get a warrant, take the phone, and go through it themselves. Because that's a reportable offense usually anyway, and it's best just to let them handle it so that we don't get into something muddy waters when you go to court or something. So that's that side of it, the search part. The other part is the public records request. Now that is a different ballgame. All right, so, and I think this is what Mr. Clark was referring to. Basically what they say is that it's irrelevant whether we pay a supplement or not on the phone. If a private phone is used for school business, if you're texting, emailing, talking on the phone, whatever, and it concerns school business, it would be open to a public records request. Now, of course, talking on the phone, we're not recording the conversation, and that's just gone. Email that we're aware of. Well, you never know now, right? Haywood County Schools isn't. Let's put it that way. But if you are emailing, that's sort of irrelevant too, because that is captured on our server. You're using the school's email. Mr. Trantham at a public records request or a subpoena by a court would be able to go on the server, pull off those emails, and provide them. If you're using a private email on your phone and you're doing school business, that is subject to a public records request, and it is up to the employee. It's the employee's responsibility to archive those emails and keep them, not the school system. Okay. Now, that also, the part that most people don't realize is that applies to text messages as well. So if you're texting back and forth on a private cell phone doing school business, then it's also that employee's responsibility to archive the text messages that are of some substantive value. So if I'm texting Dr. Garrett and saying, is the board work session still at 6 o'clock, I don't really need to archive that, because that's just not really anything of importance. If I'm texting her about a personnel issue or something related to a more substantive issue at school, then I would need to archive that, and that's my responsibility to do it in some way that I could provide that later given a public records request. So really, whether we pay a supplement or not, the public records part of it is going to be in play either way. And so what we advise employees is you know, on your private devices, just don't do school business. That's just not a good idea.
Have we gotten anything printed out like that, explaining that we've given everybody that we're, you know, paying a supplement to or anything?
We have not done that in the past. It hasn't come up, but I intend to cover it at the principals meeting next week, and we will provide them with that information.
Most people don't understand the
Right.
between private use, public use, private advice or public advice, now all that's open to the committees.
Be a good idea to put something in writing and
Somebody
pass out there.
not just in writing, but to explain that this whole area is
Yeah.
evolving.
And we'll certainly do that with principals and any other employees that, and Dr. Nolte, had a good suggestion this fall when we do our legal updates, we can have that included as well.
The other thing that has affected me is that when the company provides you a cell phone to use, which they do for me, they own that number too. And so whenever you decide to go to company YZ versus X, then all your customers are calling your old cell phone number. You don't own it. Because I argued that fact one time. I had this cell phone number for 12, 15 years, which started out being mine, but somewhere along the way I had signed a document saying, yeah, it belongs to so-and-so since you're paying the bill. And so therefore I lost access to that. But it took me a while to get everybody rounded back up, but I did. But that's another point. If we give them money, that'd be better. Then that way they could keep control of their personal cell phone numbers rather than us providing.
Nobody really wants to carry two cell phones around. One's tough enough.
No.
But,
So it's my understanding that y'all get yours straight now.
All right. Any other questions about cell phone legalities and all that? It would be a good idea to maybe do some type of,
we will.
those that are receiving the supplement need to know what the ramifications of that is.
We'll definitely film it.
That'd be great. Thanks.
And I'd have them sign that,
Yeah, there needs to be some type of agreement.
that protocol, what has to happen, so I understand.
Mr. Smiley, would you just get with Mr. Hines, maybe we could develop something and it would be proper,
Sure.
legal for our employees to protect them as well as us.
It'll just be a regulation, not a policy, right? We would not need a policy, or would we need a policy on that?
I think it just needs to be a requirement, when you hand out the phone, you accept the phone under these circumstances, you'll archive anything of school nature.
It would not be a policy.
Just a regulation, yeah, that's just,
We could have them sign it when we give them the check, in the fall.
Anything else about cell phones? Okay,
Kirkpatrick, I'm still not all up on the dollars spent.
yeah, I'm sure he'll, we need to get this information to him so they have a chance to take a look at it, I'm sure. Last item up is, I received an email earlier this morning, and many of you may have already heard or saw it, but it was concerning HB 265, House Bill 265. Our representative personnel has decided that Haywood County Board of Education should be included as a partisan board. I was taken aback by it because has anybody on this board been contacted by our state legislators about this issue?
I've been contacted by
Did nobody request it or anything? It just kind of baffled me that would be introduced and that it would be introduced by our legislative group without us even knowing it, and it affects this board tremendously in my mind. I think this board is operated, well, this is opinion, I'm preaching now, but I think that we're here for the benefit of the children, not of the political parties. And I did call Representative Presnell. She was driving back from Raleigh this afternoon, and I asked her if she had conversation with any of our board that had requested this legislation to be passed, and her answer was no, that she just felt like she had talked to a lot of people in Haywood County. All the people that she had talked to in Haywood County were in favor of it. And, of course, my opinion was that was not the opinion I had heard in the community. We may want to add to the agenda, maybe Monday night, maybe a formal reply back on our support or non-support of HB 265 to our legislators because of the fact that it's going to affect really the way the board operates, in my mind.
Is that bill just for Haywood County?
There's 6 counties.
6.
It's
There's 3 representatives in their districts.
Yancey, Madison, and Haywood here, and then Beaufort. There's 3 down east and then 3 up here.
But anyway, I have a real concern about it, and this board may want to take a position on it. I told her that, me personally, that I was totally against HB 265 from a standpoint of that, unfortunately, about 8 years ago, this 2 election cycles ago, it did become partisan when one of the parties did come out and endorse certain candidates based on how they were affiliated with their parties. So, and it had, grown in influence over the years. And I think we need to be answering to the needs of our parents and our students more so than a political party. That's just my opinion. Not that either party's policies don't support education. I'm not saying that. But be thinking about if we do want to respond to that HB 265. In the same phone call, I asked her if Haywood County was included in any of the statewide bills for calendar flexibility, and she said that we were. And I told her in the same vein that I was strongly in favor of giving us flexibility on the school calendar, and she was in favor of it also. So by the same token, she is supportive of our endeavors to have school calendar flexibility, which is very important, I think, for local boards of education to be able to do so.
And her beginning date was August the 10th that she recommended.
Okay.
That's good.
Very good.
Have you, I know this probably just came up, but have you talked to any of the other boards that are
Haven't had a chance to.
involved to see how they feel about?
Well, whenever I asked her about had she contacted other boards, they had not responded to her, or she hadn't even reached out to them. She explained to me, that she had just seen the bill and thought we ought to be included in it, was the best explanation I could get.
I can't remember. I believe there is some counties in this state that are partisan, but there's not many, is there?
Not too often. That would be pure speculation.
That's a question that I'd like to find out.
How many
think
are?
that,
I'm not in favor for it by any means.
No, it would be good to know.
I do not
And
like
what
it.
I will do in the meantime, between now and Monday night, I will try to contact the other counties, at least in our district, that would be affected by it. One explanation she gave is that over in Yancey County, they had like 2 seats open and 12 people ran, and that there was a tremendous split in the vote, and then they had to do a runoff, which does cost additional money to do a runoff. But my thinking is that the people choose then who they want to be, not the party.
Well, that could happen even in the.
Oh, yeah. And another thing, too, is what about unaffiliated people that they could not even run for school board? If you weren't in the 2 parties, then you're disenfranchised right off the bat. And I think about 1/3 of our population in Haywood County is unaffiliated.
More unaffiliated, yes.
So that would be a tremendous blow to those folks that would never have representation at all on this board. So I have a lot of concerns about it, and I thank the School Boards Association actually for giving us a heads up. They monitor this stuff with their lobbyists every day in the legislature. So anyway.
Is there any way we could ask Ms. Presnell to come and explain what benefit this will do for our kids
You
and
can ask.
sort of why, where it's coming from?
I'll be glad to call her and ask her. I've got her phone number now, so if she did call me back, I'll give her that, because I called her office in Raleigh, and it was about 10 or 15 minutes. I didn't catch her call back because I was on a business call, and but I called her back. She answered, and she did respond to me
I'd like for her to come sort of explain
Okay.
her thoughts.
I will offer that invitation. And I do not know whether she has conversed with Senator Davis or Representative Clampett either. I have no idea whether there's been any call, but I'll find that out too before Monday night.
I want to ask Pat a question. I've already started my email response to her. I'm against it, and I'm gonna speak up. Can I do that as an individual and as a board person? Is that an issue? I don't want to step on, because sometimes I get too gung-ho.
You as an individual can express your opinion, but you can't say the board does anything.
Right. Oh, we just have to,
Authority of the board.
okay.
Yeah, you have to.
Certainly say, I think this is not.
So I have to say it as an
individual board member.
I can call myself a board member,
Yeah, you can say I'm on, you can say
but I'm not speaking for the
I'm
board.
not speaking,
Okay.
I'm speaking from my perspective.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure before I did it. Okay.
Monday night, we can take action and have a response as a board too, so, and then we can respond from that too. Okay? Anything else? If not, then we'll adjourn this meeting.